All right, Alex. Recorder's on and the cameras are running. But don't let that scare you. I like to start simple. Who are you when you're not a trainee or a future professional? Who's the Alex D I'm sitting across from?
You don't waste time, do you? Most people start with, "So, how's the coffee?"
I trust the coffee will do its job without my input. I'm more interested in you.
Palm Springs by birth, old Chicago by upbringing. Rough streets, but that's where I learned what counts. Who to trust, when to move, when to keep your head down. My foster parents drilled it in early. Earn it or go without. And that never left me.
That sounds like it gave you a kind of compass. Do you think that's what shaped how you approached this place? The academy?
Definitely. At Tarsus, people talk about careers, prospects, the enclave life, all that. I don't really think that way. For me, it's still about survival, but with better tools. Learn what you can, stay sharp, and maybe, just maybe, send something back home. That's the way I see it.
And yet here you are, excelling. All the reports I've seen say you're one of the top performers in your year. That doesn't sound like just survival to me.
I guess surviving well looks a lot like succeeding. But really, I just work hard. That's all there is to it.
And when you're not working hard? What does Alex do when she allows herself to just be?
Honestly, I wander. I'll walk the old neighborhoods, visit the same corner stores I went to as a kid. I like reminding myself that I'm still that kid from old Chicago. The academy is where I'm going, but old Chicago, that's where I came from. It keeps me balanced.
Balanced. I like that. It makes me think you're not just training for a career, Alex. You're carrying a piece of your world with you. And maybe that's what makes you so interesting.
Or it just makes me stubborn. Depends on who you ask.
You know, the way you talk about old Chicago, it's like you're describing a heartbeat. Messy, loud, a little dangerous, but alive. Do you ever miss it when you're in here, in the neat enclave streets?
All the time. Out there, everything's raw. You know where you stand. In here, things are polished, structured. It's nice, but it doesn't feel like home.
Funny. I feel something similar. My earliest memories are from Hong Kong, actually. My parents ran a little import business back then. Food shipments, textiles, whatever they could get through the ports after the collapse. The first things I remember are neon lights flickering during blackouts and the harbor horns echoing at night. It already feels more like a dream than a memory.
Hong Kong? That's a long way from Chicago.
Yeah. We moved around after things got too unstable. My parents weren't privileged, not by any stretch, but they had a streak of luck. We never had plenty, but we always had just enough. I grew up watching them argue over cargo, tariffs, whose bribes were lighter that week. And somehow, I thought that was normal. Compared to what a lot of families went through after the collapse, I realize we got off easy.
So you saw both sides, the luck and the cracks.
Exactly. Luck doesn't erase the cracks. It just keeps you from falling straight through them. My childhood wasn't glamorous, but it gave me a lot of perspective. And maybe that's why I'm here, chasing other people's stories, like yours.
Careful, you make it sound like I'm more interesting than I am.
Or maybe you're just not used to hearing it said out loud.
Maybe. Either way, I guess we've both been shaped by where we started, even if some of it's just blurry fragments.
Blurry fragments can be the sharpest in the end. They remind you of the little things, even when the full picture fades.
Yeah, it's the fragments that stick with you. What kind of pieces do you still carry?
After Hong Kong, we ended up in Seattle. That's where I spent most of my school years. It was steadier, less neon, more rain. A bit of stability after the chaos. Though even there, you could feel the world hadn't really recovered. Empty lots, businesses that opened and shut within months, people still trading collapse stories like they were war medals.
Sounds familiar. Chicago had its own rhythm like that. You could almost measure time by how often things fell apart and got patched back together.
Exactly. Still, I can't help feeling Hong Kong left a bigger imprint on me. My parents' business dragged us through some tight corners, and for a while I thought I'd never go back. But now, with work pulling me overseas, I plan to return soon. Part of me wants to walk the harbor again, see if anything stirs, if unlocks something I thought I'd forgotten.
Makes sense. I wish I could do the same. For me, those first years in Palm Springs are just blank spaces. My birth parents died of the Great Death when I was a baby. Simple story, right? But when I think about it too long, the pieces don't quite fit together.
I'm sorry, Alex. That must have been so hard. But something tells me there's more to the story. The kind of thing I shouldn't put in ink.
Definitely not. This stays between us. All my relatives lived abroad, and I only remember the children's home in fragments. Not the kind of cribs and playrooms image people expect. More like impressions. The way the air always carried a faint buzz, or how the adults' smiles seemed rehearsed. Nothing clear, just little pieces that never quite connect.
So, just a feeling? Like something was off, even if you can't put your finger on it?
Yeah, exactly that. Blurry outlines. People with clipboards. The same routines every day. A sense we were being measured somehow. I can't swear by the details. It's all haze. But even as a kid, I remember thinking, this doesn't feel like home. It feels like something else.
That's a heavy thing to carry, even if you're smirking your way through it now.
You get used to it. Honestly, things only started to feel real when I was adopted around 5. That's when memories stopped being fragments. My foster parents' apartment in old Chicago, the cracked window that whistled when the wind hit, the smell of cabbage stew they made every Sunday. That's when life stopped feeling like a study and started feeling like mine.
From mystery to memory.
Something like that. And maybe it's not such a bad trade.
Not at all. But I think most orphanages in those days worked that way, in one form or another. The pre-collapse world wasn't as shiny as people like to remember. And considering you're 24, the collapse was only a year or so after you left. That's cutting it close.
Yeah, I was an inch away from being someone's private asset. You know how many orphans ended up being raised by those neo-feudal corporations? It's ironic, really, to end up in Tarsus of all places, in Spec Ops of all things. It's like I dodged a bullet and walked right into its sights.
Still, better than being swallowed whole by some corp with your name on a balance sheet. At least with Tarsus, you get some agency, however narrow the lane is.
Maybe. Or maybe it's just another gilded cage with fancier locks.
Either way, it's shaped you. Me, I spent years thinking I'd end up in archaeological architecture. I used to spend hours doodling skylines on the margins of my notebooks.
Architecture, huh? I can see that. You've got that detail-obsessed look. So, what dragged you into the world of cameras and notepads instead?
Well, post-collapse tuition fees, for one. But mostly curiosity, I guess. Stories always pulled me in. I started freelancing, interviewing neighbors about ration lines, power outages, little things. And then one day, someone actually paid me to string words together. After that, well, the pen outlasted the drafting pencil.
And here I thought you were born with a press badge tucked under your pillow.
Hardly. It was more like stumbling into it with both eyes open. And you? When you were younger, what did you picture yourself doing?
Funny thing is, I didn't really picture much. If you'd asked 10-year-old me, I would have said robotics engineering. I like tinkering with scraps, anything with wires. But then when I was 13, out of nowhere, I was enrolled in Tarsus Middle. My parents said an aptitude test opened the door, but here's the catch. I never applied for one, or at least I don't remember doing so. The letter just came, like the choice had already been made for me.
Wait, Tarsus? The Tarsus? That's rare as rain in a drought. Their scholarships are like unicorns. I tried applying once, actually. Got as far as the interview stage. Thought I nailed it, then radio silence. Never heard back. So how does someone just wake up admitted?
Exactly my question. I asked my parents at the time how we could possibly afford it, and they brushed it off, said luck was on my side. But I can't shake the feeling that someone else was pulling strings, especially since I never even expressed an interest in Tarsus itself.
That's so rare, but kind of impressive.
It gets stranger. My best friend at Tarsus, Billy Adams, also from old Chicago, had almost the same story. Same mysterious letter, same phrasing in the acceptance. We believe you possess the profile we cultivate. That's corporate speak for we picked you. It felt less like coincidence, more like recruitment.
So, 2 kids from the same city, both pulled into one of the most exclusive schools in the world without either of you pushing for it. That doesn't sound like luck. It sounds like someone watching? Deciding?
Yeah, that's what I've started to wonder too. But then again, why would somebody choose us for anything? Once we were inside, they funneled Billy and me straight into the covert ops track. Like apparently we were only good for sneaking around with a gun in our hands.
Then it's either someone pulling strings or the biggest administrative error of the decade. And knowing Tarsus, I'm not sure which would be funnier or scarier.
I've asked myself that more times than I can count.
See, from what I've heard, mostly back home in Seattle, Tarsus doesn't really do oops assignments. They're too deliberate for that. The Seattle branch is practically a fortress. My family still lives nearby the Upper Seattle Inclinator, so I've walked past it countless times. You don't see students streaming in and out like a normal academy. It's more like operatives in training, commandos, people who already know how to move without being noticed.
Yeah, I've heard about Seattle. Billy actually did a rotation there. She's been shuttled between centers for some time now. Seattle, New York, San Francisco. Her final stage, as they call it. She doesn't say much, but you can read between the lines. They're polishing her for something bigger.
And you? Where do you fit in that picture?
My own wrap-up stage is still ahead. They say it's coming. They don't tell me where or when. Just that I'll know when it's time.
Sounds like a bad recruitment slogan.
Tell me about it.
Still, you don't strike me as someone who just fits a mold. Maybe that's what unsettles them. That you and Billy weren't supposed to just be good with guns. Maybe they underestimated you.
Or maybe they knew exactly what they wanted and just haven't told us yet.
Either way, it's a hell of a story. Even if, for now, it has to stay between us.
Between us, then.
I keep thinking about that covert track you were put on. It sounds intense. Not just a 9-to-5 risk, but a real, on-the-ground kind of danger. Doesn't that bother you?
It would, if it were just us and a gun. But they don't exactly throw you into the deep end unprepared. By the time you're supposed to go out, you've already been upgraded with biomods. Augmented, I guess. Billy had hers during her rotations. She says it makes the whole thing feel less like a gamble and more like a set of controlled variables.
Controlled variables. That's a Tarsus phrase if I've ever heard one. So you're trusting technology to keep you alive?
No, not trust. Respect. The difference is everything. These aren't just plug-and-play upgrades. They have to be mapped to your genome, all the way down to the cellular level. If they're not aligned right, they don't just fail, they can kill you. That's Tarsus's real advantage. Their labs have the resources to align the bioarchitecture of the nanites with the person receiving them. It's why their graduates carry so much weight.
So it's not just training, it's survival of the compatible.
Exactly. Without that genetic alignment, the infusion just burns you out. With it, you're not just augmented, you're stabilized. That's what makes this whole thing even possible.
And that alignment must cost a fortune.
It does. Piezochem's supply lines are tighter than most governments' budgets. Their canisters aren't commodities, they're rationed. Tarsus has one of the only labs with a direct partnership. They get first access, and they get the engineers. It's why a Tarsus grad walks like they've already been hired by half the world.
Yeah, that's true. Still, part of me worries about you. These biomods, even properly aligned ones, aren't magic. They change how your body moves and how you react. That's a lot to carry.
Yeah, I know there are risks. Billy's been pretty honest about the drawbacks. She's had nights she couldn't shake the phantom reflexes when trying to sleep. But she says on balance, she feels more herself than she did before.
Wow.
Sounds strange, I know. In any case, I'll get a look at it myself before too long.
So for now, you're still untouched by all that?
Not exactly. I've had the starter infusion, the primer they use to stabilize you before the real work begins. That's why my eyes are violet. It's not some fashion statement. It's the nanites making sure my system won't melt down when the next round comes.
So that's what it is. I thought the color was deliberate, but it's the bridge. Without it, nothing else sticks.
Exactly. It doesn't give you much you can feel or notice. Just a clean slate. But it means when the engineers decide what fits you best, the rest won't tear you apart on contact.
So when it's your turn, what do you think they'll give you? What fits Alex D?
Hard to say. Whatever it is, it'll come with a price tag worth more than any house in Chicago. That's the irony. People like me, from where I'm from, we'd never dream of affording this. And yet here we are.
Sounds like fate, or a very expensive coincidence. Either way, you don't sound afraid.
I'm not. Not yet, anyway.
You know, sometimes I think Tarsus should be grateful they stumbled onto you. People like you don't come along often.
Don't make it sound grand. They probably just matched me to some numbers on a spreadsheet.
Maybe. But I've seen enough spreadsheets to know they don't always explain everything. Sometimes they get lucky.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it.
Alex, by the way, do the people at Tarsus ever use Neuralink infusions? The ones that tie a human brain directly to an AGI agent? Supposedly used in very specific cases, but not common. I wasn't sure if it was fact or fiction.
Oh, it's fact. Just not the clean, regulated kind. You won't find it near Piezochem's labs. And it's not really a connection, it's a handover. People who try it usually end up absorbed into the AI. Their own voice just shifts until it's the machine speaking through them. And no, by the way, it's totally banned in places like Tarsus.
Like surrendering the driver's seat of your own mind. That's exactly what they say about the Omar Collective, isn't it?
Yeah, but with the Omars, it goes further. They go through cortical surgery that locks their minds into the hive, I think. No way back after that. From what I know, they come from any background, people chasing something beyond themselves. Now they don't exist apart. When you talk to one Omar, you speak to the whole network.
That's haunting. Trading away the very thing that makes you human.
Depends on your angle. Some call it freedom. No loneliness, no hesitation, pure unity. But me? I'll keep my own chaos, thanks.
Yeah, same. So, all this talk about merging minds makes me wonder. Do you think that's what really happened with J.C. Denton? The story goes he used his nano-augments to merge with the global router, wiped out the protocols that kept the systems in line, and that's what pushed the world into the collapse.
That's the official version, but it's got holes. Too neat, too convenient. Denton's a ghost now, easy to pin blame on. What I've heard, the version that makes the most sense, is that Page Industries' rogue ASI pulled the trigger, not Denton.
I've read those accounts too, and it does line up with some of the archived reports, though none of them ever agree on the details. So many mysteries still locked away.
Right? Huh, look at that. We've been talking for hours. Didn't feel like it.
Same here. And thank you, Alex, for being open with me. I know not all of this is for the record.
Guess I figured you'd ask the right kind of questions. And maybe you'll find the right kind of answers.
Well, I'll be visiting Tarsus in a few days. Maybe I'll get to see some of what you've been talking about up close.
Then I'll have to show you what it's really like. Off the glossy brochure.
That's exactly what I was hoping for.
Don't say I didn't warn you when it turns out boring.
Then I'll take my chances.